Before you get married, let's get real. No, I'm not talking about matching towels or wedding hashtags. I mean the raw, uncomfortable, sometimes selfish things you must check off your list before saying, I do. Why? Because once you're married, it's no longer just about you. If you're ready to laugh, learn, and maybe cringe a little, stick around. I'm counting down the must-dos before tying the knot. And trust me, some of these will definitely surprise you. Chapter 1. Marriage is a choice, not a goal. Let's begin with something that needs to be said loud and clear. Marriage is a choice, not a goal. Society has wrapped this idea of marriage in layers of tradition, expectation, and fantasy. It's sold to us as the peak of success in life, like there's a conveyor belt we're all supposed to ride: graduate school, get a good job, fall in love, get married, and live happily ever after. But here's the unvarnished truth. Marriage is not the final destination. It's not a trophy waiting for you at the finish line. It's a profound, life-altering choice that requires care, intention, and perspective. And when you see it for what it truly is, you gain the power to make a decision that aligns with your values and your happiness. I know this because I've been there. I've sat in those moments of doubt, wondering if my life would lose its sparkle if I wasn't married by a certain age. The pressure wasn't always explicit. Sometimes it was a quiet voice in the back of my mind, echoing everything I'd ever absorbed from movies, books, and conversations with well-meaning friends and family. When I went to weddings, I didn't just celebrate, I compared. I watched brides and grooms exchanging vows and thought, why not me? What's wrong with me? I genuinely believed that without a ring on my finger by the deadline, I'd somehow failed at life. But here's what I've learned. Marriage isn't the solution to an incomplete life. It's a decision to build a shared life. And if you treat it like a race to be won or a goal to achieve, you might find yourself in a place of regret. I've seen it happen. One of my closest friends, someone who had always been so sure of herself, rushed into marriage. She said it was time. It was the next logical step. She loved her partner, but she had this nagging feeling deep down that something wasn't quite right. Instead of listening to that feeling, she silenced it. After all, marriage was the big goal she'd been working toward, right? Fast forward a year, the marriage ended, and the aftermath was devastating. Over coffee one day, she shared her truth. I wish I'd stopped to think. I wish I'd asked myself why I was saying yes. I thought marriage would fix things, but it only magnified the cracks. I treated it like a checkbox on my life's to-do list, and I paid the price. Her words stuck with me because they echoed a lesson we don't hear often enough. Choosing marriage isn't just about love. It's about readiness, alignment, and mutual commitment. Here's another truth society conveniently forgets to mention. You don't need marriage to be happy or whole. You are already a complete person. There's no missing puzzle piece, no gap that only another person can fill. When you truly internalize this, you free yourself from the weight of societal expectations. You stop chasing after a version of happiness that isn't your own. You realize that your worth isn't tied to your relationship status or how many people RSVP'd to your hypothetical wedding. That doesn't mean marriage is bad or wrong. It means it's serious. It's not about Instagram-worthy proposals or diamond rings. It's about creating a partnership that adds value to your life, not defines it. And when you treat marriage like a goal, it's easy to lose sight of that. You might settle for less than you deserve because you're so focused on arriving. But a rushed marriage, a marriage made for the wrong reasons, isn't an arrival. It's a detour that can leave you feeling lost and stuck. Here's another thing, your timeline is your own. Forget the societal scripts. Forget the comments from relatives who ask, when are you going to settle down? Forget the voice in your head that tells you you're falling behind. There's no universal deadline for happiness, no perfect age to have it all figured out. You can thrive in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, and beyond, single, partnered, or married. What matters isn't where you are on some imaginary timeline, but whether you're making choices that feel true to you. So let's reframe the way we think about marriage. It's not a status symbol or a solution, it's a collaboration, a partnership, a choice. When it's approached with intention, when it's chosen for the right reasons, it can be an incredible part of life's journey. But it's just that, a part. It's not the whole picture. And if you decide marriage isn't for you, or not for you right now, that's okay. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You're not incomplete. You're not behind. You're simply living your life on your terms, and that's the most empowering thing you can do. When you understand that marriage is a choice, not a goal, you take back your power. You decide what happiness looks like for you, without letting society's expectations dictate your path. So here's the takeaway. If marriage feels right, if it aligns with your heart, your mind, and your future, then choose it. Choose it wholeheartedly, not because you're supposed to, but because you truly want to. And if it doesn't, keep building your beautiful, messy, fulfilling life. Either way, you're already enough. Always have been, always will be. Chapter 2. Build a support system beyond your partner. Let's talk about something we don't hear often enough. Building a support system beyond your partner. Romantic movies and pop songs love to paint this picture of the one being your everything. Your best friend, therapist, adventure buddy, soulmate, and problem solver all rolled into one. But honestly, that's not just unrealistic, it's downright unhealthy. And it's unfair to both of you. In the early days of my relationship, I fell headfirst into this trap. My partner and I did everything together. Every free moment was spent in each other's company, and I leaned on him for every little thing. Need advice, I'd ask him. Feeling sad? He was my go-to comforter. Want to make weekend plans? You guessed it, just the two of us. At the time, it felt romantic and perfect. Why wouldn't I want to spend all my time with the person I loved most? But then reality came knocking. We had our first big fight, a fight that left us both needing some space to cool off and process. And that's when I realized something shocking. I felt completely, utterly alone. By pouring all my energy into my relationship, I had let my other relationships, the ones I'd spent years building, fade into the background. I didn't have that one close friend I could call to vent. I didn't feel comfortable turning to family because they weren't caught up on my life anymore. Without even realizing it, I'd put all my emotional eggs in one basket, and when that basket shook, my world felt like it might topple. It was a wake-up call I'll never forget. A close friend of mine eventually pointed out something that stuck with me. Just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean you stop being your own person. That single sentence hit me harder than our argument ever could. I realized that having a life outside of my partner isn't just important, it's essential. Friends, family, mentors, they nurture parts of you that your partner simply can't. They remind you of who you are as an individual, outside the role of girlfriend, boyfriend, or spouse. Think of your relationship like a table. If it's standing on just one leg, your partner, it's going to wobble and eventually collapse under pressure. But add more legs, your friends, family, colleagues, and community. And suddenly, that table becomes a lot more stable. Life throws curveballs. And no matter how much you and your partner love each other, one person can't be everything you lean on when the storms roll in. A strong support system catches you when you fall. Here's another thing I learned. Having outside relationships actually strengthens your romantic partnership. When you maintain connections with other people, you're bringing fresh energy, new ideas, and diverse perspectives back into your relationship. You'll feel more balanced and fulfilled, which makes you a better partner. It's not about creating distance, it's about creating balance. So how do you build or rebuild that support system? Start small but intentional. Reconnect with old friends by sending a quick message or scheduling a coffee date. Keep those family ties strong by calling or texting regularly, even if it's just a funny meme or a short update. Join a local group or hobby club where you can meet people who share your interests. And don't underestimate the value of mentorship. Having someone to look up to and guide you is a game changer when life gets overwhelming. Most importantly, prioritize these relationships. Don't treat them like backups for when your partner is busy. Celebrate their wins, support them during tough times, and be as present for them as you'd want them to be for you. Remember, it's a two-way street. The bottom line? Your partner might be your everything, but they shouldn't have to be everything for you. Invest in the people who make you laugh, challenge your thinking, and support your dreams. The people who will give you a much-needed reality check. when you're too close to a problem. The ones who'll cheer you on when you feel like giving up. The ones who'll remind you who you are, even when you forget yourself. When you keep those friendships alive, nurture your family connections, and make space for mentors and community, you're not just building a stronger network, you're also strengthening your relationship. Trust me, your marriage or partnership will be so much stronger for it. A table with many legs doesn't just stand, it thrives. So will you. Chapter 3. Date all the wrong people. Brace yourself because this advice might sound a little wild. Date all the wrong people. Yes, you heard me. I'm telling you to swipe right on people who make you raise an eyebrow. Say yes to that date with the guy your friends secretly call Red Flag Rick, and maybe even entertain a person you'd normally never give the time of day. Why? Because there's something transformative, dare I say necessary, about dating the wrong people before you find the right one. Let's start with the truth most of us don't like to admit. You don't really know what you want in a partner until you've learned what you don't want. Sometimes it takes dating someone who makes you want to yeet your phone into the nearest river to understand your own boundaries and non-negotiables. Here's a personal story to prove my point. Back in the day, I dated someone who checked off every box in the what not to do category. Unreliable? Check. Ghosted me for days? Double check. Zero ambition or direction? Triple check. My friends? They all but staged an intervention. It's a disaster waiting to happen, they said, and spoiler alert, they were absolutely right. That relationship, it imploded in spectacular fashion, and while it wasn't pretty, it turned out to be one of the most defining experiences of my life. Why? Because in the ashes of that messy, wrong-for-me relationship, I discovered something invaluable. Myself. I learned I need consistency in a partner. I value clear communication. And I won't settle for mixed signals or someone who leaves me questioning my worth. I realized I have no interest in being the person constantly chasing after someone who's ambivalent about me. That disaster relationship wasn't a waste of time. It was a crash course in self-awareness and standards. And here's the thing nobody tells you. Not every relationship has to be a grand step toward marriage or forever. That's a toxic myth we need to let go of. Relationships can be fun, fleeting, messy, and yes, even a little toxic, as long as you're safe and self-aware. Each one serves a purpose, even if that purpose is to teach you what you don't want. Dating the wrong people isn't just about refining your partner checklist. It's also about holding up a mirror to yourself. When you're in a relationship with someone unreliable, for example, it forces you to ask tough questions. Why do I keep tolerating this? Do I have a pattern of settling for less than I deserve? Am I too afraid of being alone to walk away? These uncomfortable truths reveal so much about your own insecurities, blind spots, and growth areas. Sometimes these wrong-for-you relationships can be like a spotlight on your own flaws. Maybe you're too accommodating, bending over backwards to keep the peace while sacrificing your own happiness. Maybe you ignore glaring red flags because you're so focused on making it work. Maybe you're drawn to chaos because it feels exciting, even if it's unsustainable. When you date the wrong people, you're not just learning about them, you're learning about yourself. And let's be real, the lessons you learn from these bad relationships are the ones that stick. A partner who constantly cancels plans last minute will teach you how much you value reliability. A partner who avoids deep conversations will show you how much you crave emotional intimacy. A partner who gaslights you will force you to trust your gut instincts and demand better. These are lessons you cannot fully learn in a relationship that's smooth sailing from day one. And then there's the sheer fun of it. Yes, I said fun. There's something freeing about letting yourself get it wrong, about saying yes to the dates that don't fit neatly into your life plan. Go out with someone wildly different from your usual type. Date the person who has the same favorite band as you, but absolutely no career ambitions. Spend time with the guy who's super fun, but has zero filter. These experiences may not lead to your forever person, but they'll lead to some incredible stories, plenty of laughs, and maybe even some surprising moments of connection. The truth is, every wrong person you date is like a stepping stone toward the love you're meant to have. and the version of yourself you're meant to become. Every frustrating moment, every red flag, every hilarious misadventure helps you refine your standards and clarify what you truly need in a partner. And when you finally meet the person who feels like home, you'll be ready. You'll recognize their value because you've been through the fire. You've grown, you've learned. So go ahead, date the wrong people. Dive into those messy relationships. Laugh at the absurdity of it all. Cry when it gets hard. And most importantly, learn from every single experience. Because one day, when you finally meet the right person, you'll know without a doubt, every wrong turn brought you here. Chapter 4. Make peace with your family. All right, this next one is big, and it might hit close to home. Make peace with your family before you get married. Let's face it, families are complicated. Some of us were lucky enough to grow up in warm, supportive homes where love and encouragement were served alongside dinner. Others, well, not so much. For some, family life was a minefield of tension, unspoken resentments, or outright conflict. But here's why this matters. Whether we like it or not, our families shape us. They shape how we handle relationships, process emotions, and deal with challenges. And all that family baggage, it's coming along for the ride in your marriage, whether you realize it or not. Growing up, my family had its quirks. Actually, let's call them what they were, issues. There was tension you could cut with a knife, resentments we never talked about, and plenty of walking on eggshells to avoid sparking yet another argument. For a long time, I thought getting married would be my escape, a chance to leave all that behind. I thought, once I'm married, my family drama won't affect me anymore. But here's the kicker. Those unresolved issues, they didn't stay behind. They showed up in my marriage in ways I never expected. I'd get defensive about little things that had nothing to do with my spouse. I'd overreact to harmless comments because they hit an old nerve I didn't even realize I still had. Those family triggers, things I thought I'd left in my childhood, came roaring back. It took time, and a lot of honest reflection, to realize that until I dealt with my family baggage, it was going to keep spilling over into my relationship. And let me tell you, that was not easy to face. So when I say make peace, I don't mean you need to become best friends with your family or act like everything's fine when it's not. Making peace is about doing the inner work to process and heal. It's about addressing the weight you're carrying so it doesn't crush you or your relationship. Maybe that means having the tough conversations you've been avoiding. Maybe it means accepting that your family isn't going to change and learning to let go of resentment. This is a hard truth, but an important one. You can't control your family. You can only control how you respond to them. And let's be real, those childhood wounds, those sharp words, those tense family dinners, they don't just vanish. They shape how you handle conflict, trust, and communication. If you don't address them, they'll show up in your marriage, whether through old triggers, defensive habits, or difficulty letting your partner in. For some of you, the idea of making peace with your family might feel impossible. Maybe you've been through deep betrayal, abandonment, or pain that's hard to even think about, let alone work through. Let me be clear. Making peace doesn't mean pretending those things didn't happen. It doesn't mean excusing bad behavior or erasing boundaries. What it does mean is finding a way to process the hurt, to work through it, and to choose how you'll move forward so those wounds no longer control you. This isn't about sweeping things under the rug. It's about setting yourself free. Because when you make peace with your family, or at least with your relationship to them, you're freeing yourself to build something new. You're creating space for a healthier, stronger foundation in your marriage. And here's another piece of the puzzle. When you get married, you're not just marrying your spouse. You're also stepping into a relationship with their family. The more work you've done on your own family baggage, the better equipped you'll be to handle the quirks, dynamics, and yes, even the drama of your in-laws. Trust me, those relationships can be tricky, and the stronger your emotional toolkit, the better off you'll be. Here's the deeper truth. Making peace with your family is really about making peace with yourself. It's about saying, I accept where I come from, but I'm not letting it define where I'm going. It's about recognizing that your past shapes you, but it doesn't have to define you. You don't have to love every part of your family. You don't have to keep toxic people in your life. But processing the pain, letting go of what doesn't serve you, And creating healthy boundaries are some of the greatest gifts you can give yourself and your future marriage. Maybe that means having a hard conversation with your parents or siblings. Maybe it means going to therapy to untangle years of hurt. Maybe it's simply choosing to forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve the freedom that comes with it. Or maybe it's setting firm boundaries, recognizing that you can love people from a distance without sacrificing your well-being. Whatever making peace looks like for you, it's worth it. It's worth the discomfort, the effort, and the work, because when you step into your marriage without the weight of unresolved family baggage, you step in lighter, freer, and ready to build something beautiful. So take the first step, have the tough conversation. Write the letter you've been holding back, set the boundaries, let go of the anger that's been eating at you. Whatever it takes to find peace, not for your family, but for yourself. Because when you do, you're giving your future marriage the best possible chance to thrive. And that's a gift worth fighting for. Marriage is one of the most transformative journeys you can embark on, but here's the truth. It's not a sprint to the altar. It's a lifelong marathon, one that requires preparation, self-awareness, and intention. By remembering that marriage is a choice, not a goal, you give yourself the freedom to approach it with clarity and purpose. And when you focus on building a life that's already strong, full, and deeply fulfilling before you say "I do," you're laying a foundation for a partnership that can weather any storm. Here's why this mindset matters. Rushing into marriage with unrealistic expectations, or because you're feeling external pressure, can lead to regret, frustration, or even heartbreak. But when you take the time to know yourself, work through your own baggage, and create a life you genuinely love, you're bringing your best, most complete self to the relationship. And that's the secret to a marriage that isn't just functional, but truly joyful and lasting. Of course, this is just the beginning. There's so much more to explore when it comes to preparing for a healthy, thriving marriage. What's next on the list of pre-marriage must-dos? Trust me, you're going to want to hear this. It's something most people never talk about, but it's absolutely essential, and it can make or break your relationship in the long run. If you're ready to dive deeper and get the tools you need to build a rock-solid partnership, do yourself a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. Don't miss part 2, where I'll reveal the one thing every couple should do before walking down the aisle. Something that could completely change the way you think about your relationship. So stick around, because this is only the beginning of an incredible journey. The next chapter is packed with insights that will help you not only prepare for marriage, but thrive in it. And remember, this isn't about perfection. It's about creating a partnership that feels right for you and your future.